I photographed some scary creatures. They had a theme week in local amusement park called Linnanmäki, a kind of like a horror week, and there were zombies all around, and it's a great opportunity for photographs. Hi, it's Peter here, and let's get right into the business. Events like these are really great photo opportunities. The creatures are there to be photographed. They're hired to scare people. They're hired to pose for you. So it's really easy to approach them. And of course, they are very well masked. So they look really real zombies. And as they are actors, they are really good. And that makes it so easy to photograph. You don't have to ask permission. You just, go there and lift up your camera and they will start posing or attacking at you, which might cause some unsharp images. Sometimes they move quite a lot and they are really hard to photograph, so you need a fast shutter speed and some action shot skills so that you can get the best out of them. Like this image, for example, the zombie came too close. Even though this image is not a bad image, it came out right nice. But as you will see, it won't fit the set of images that I took on this photo assignment that I made for myself. Backgrounds are really important. Even though you're photographing a zombie face, which is of course the most important thing, it is the subject of your image. But the background is really, really important. As you see, for example, this image, I really like the zombie and the way she's posing and all that, but the background is really, really boring. And that's why this image is not one of my favorites from that photo shoot, because of the dull background. And of course here, when you have these zombies move around, they kind of control where they go. You don't really have a chance to control the background. Sometimes, of course, you need to move to get a more interesting background. And if we compare these two images of the same clown, I like this one a lot better because of the better background, even though the pose is identical with these two photographs. I really do like this a lot better because of the background. And then we have these two images, which I really like, are one of my favorites. It's the background, it's the sun that's behind these two creatures. And the way it works is the color feeling and all that comes into place with these two images because of the sun, like I said. And of course the red drapes, what they have, makes the image. And of course the characters were really good actors and really interesting to photograph. And the white face and the big nails and all that made the image, of course. But the background has a big role in these two images. And of course editing is a big part of the whole thing to make the mood, and I will talk about that a bit later. And the gear I had. I used OM1 and Mzuiko 20mm F1.4 Pro. I think the lens for this was perfect because of the suitable focal length for this. Usually when you're photographing faces, you need a bit longer. It's short telephoto lens, like a 45mm. But then that would have been too long for this type of shoot because they really came at you and you would have needed to be quite long away from the model to get a good composition, and then that would have been too long and they're too far away from the model and it wouldn't have worked. So 20mm is a good compromise. It's not really wide angle, which I don't really like on images like this. You just the faces get distorted and everything. It doesn't really work. So I wanted a bit narrower focal length, and I thought 20mm was just perfect. I could get close enough, but still, the proportion of the faces are quite okay because, like I said, a wide angle would make them distorted. And also, with the 20mm, it's wide enough to get some of the background, so you get kind of like the feeling of the place too in the images. Even though I like to go straight at their face and make the image real close, I think that's something that I like. It makes a lot better image, in my opinion. How to choose images. Of course, when you're out there shooting like this, you get quite a lot of images because, of course, they're moving. You need, and making faces, you need to make a burst of images. Even though I had a single shot, just click and made like 5 to 6 images per character. So you need to figure out which one are the best ones. And if we look at these two images, first I thought that this pose is really great, but then I took this image and I thought this one is a lot better because the posing one is more friendly in a way that he's comfortable with the camera, but the second one is something that he was not aware that I took the photograph, and the image tells a much more of a story when he's looking at the next victim. Maybe you start wondering what is he looking at, and that makes this image better than this one. So this is the way I chose the images. And what do you think? Which one would you have chosen? Another thing is the style of the images. I had these two images that are really great in my opinion, but they did not fit to this whole set of images where I took these portraits of these zombies. This one is more of a overall shot, even though it's a nice shot, and I will use these two shots in some other things. Maybe next year when they have the same thing, I will concentrate on images like this, and then I have these two already in the set. But it is a really hard decision to make those cuts and make those selections that what images you really want. But my intention was to make these close-up portraits of these creatures. And that's why these two images, for example, don't fit. Before I talk more about why I chose this look, let's look at some images. And the look. I was planning on making black and white, old type horror movie images. But pretty quickly I realized that of course these colorful creatures needs to be photographed in color, and I edited them to be a bit oversaturated and played around with vibrance and saturation to get the look I like. Of course the part is the photographing, but a big part is editing when you're doing things like this, because with the editing you choose the look and make all the color grading to look the way you want the images to look like. And that is a big part to make the mood, to make the feeling, and maybe a bit about the story too. So always think when you're photographing what the look will be. And if it doesn't fit, like I quickly decided that black and white won't fit this whole set and switch the color. So keep that in mind when you're photographing. Have a feeling what you want the image to look like. And I think that's a big part of making the image. So try to make it so that you have the background, if possible, to add to the image. Like the image of this clown, which looks like a Joker. The background with the booths and everything, it fits a lot better. And adjusting the colors. And like always I adjust the background and the foreground differently. I separate them with Lightroom masks and, treat them a bit differently so that I can really make the subject pop, making the background a bit darker and sometimes even lighten up the character or the subject. And on this one, for example, I opened up the eyes to reduce the shadows in the eyes. That makes the look a lot more intensive, and eyes are the kind of things that I look into photographs, in portraits and photographs like this. It's a big part, how they look at the camera and how intense is the look, because when they're looking straight at camera, it makes the connection between the subject and the photographer and the viewer more intense. And if you want to see more videos like this where I photograph and talk how I made the images and how I edited, you might want to watch that I made last winter when I was photographing colorful cars covered by snow in front of a very colorful houses. But hey, thanks for watching and bye for now.